That's right, I see the chat. I see y'all rocking, I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building, you know what I'm saying? Hit that like button, show your love, show your support, you know what I'm saying? This that dope soul, this that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Just KNICKIN Weekly Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen, joined by I am Jerrell from the Die Hard Giants Live, Dope Soul Alumni 2022, Delusional Knick fan from the Delusional Knick Fan Network, Knick Nation. We borrowed from Knick's Real Talk, part of the family. How's everybody doing?
Hey, salute, man. Happy to be here, Steph. Salute to the chat.
Yeah, sure. Salute to the chat. Lot to talk about today. We're going to revisit the Sohan signing, particularly as it relates to Diawara. Mike Brown has some interesting things to say today in his press conference. We kind of covered this. We are ahead of the curve. We kind of covered this last week, but we're going to go over it again and give Delusional and some others an opportunity to talk about it. Then we're going to finish our not so mid-season review. The Knicks have played, I believe it's 55 games already. We didn't get a chance to talk about Mike Brown. I want to do that today and just our thoughts on, how he's been over the first part of the season. I don't know if we'll get a chance to do Wingstop. OG and Mikal Bridges, we spent a lot of time on them in the past because I also want to get to this Detroit game coming up and what we want to see from the Knicks for the rest of the season. So that's a lot to try to get done. All right, let me let somebody else just came in.
Good people,
Latoria.
How are
you? Salute.
I just want y'all to notice how I'm feeling all the rest of the year, right here. Bring them crispy home.
That joint is crisp. Nice.
Bring them home. This is the energy I got for our boys all this year. Let's go.
All right. Let's go. All right. Appreciate you, Latoria. Everything is good?
Yes.
All right. Let's get right into it. Mike Brown had a press conference today. Sohan had a press conference as well, and he did acknowledge that he spoke to the coaching staff and no promises, I'm sure, but he's expecting to play some. And then during Mike Brown's press conference, you know how when the Knicks do the press conferences, you can't hear the questions, but it sounded like somebody asked him about Diawara and Sohan, something to that sort, and Mike Brown, basically said that he wants to see what he has going into the playoffs. And that's been Mike Brown since he's been here, right? Playing Kolek, playing a young guy. So there's no surprises going into the playoffs. He knows he has a good feel for them. So he said that's the same thing he wants for Sohan. Like he wants to get him out there. I'm paraphrasing, wants him to play so that he has a sense of who he is going into the playoffs. And I believe somebody asked him about Diawara, and he said, listen, with the vets, they understand the league, they understand the officials. I guess the officials, understand them. And he says similar to Alvarado and Kolek. And when he said that, I was like, okay, well, because Kolek basically is, the time that he gets is usually, when the game is, no longer hanging in the balance. So I guess the question, and again, we talked about this last week, but given what Mike Brown said, we kind of have a sense now that he is going to play some, and maybe at the expense of Diawara, though I do think Diawara will get time. What's your thoughts about that? How do you feel about a player the Knicks just signed who may not even be here next year, possibly playing ahead of someone who has shown promise and who I believe will be here for some time, barring a trade for a superstar and they demand in Diawara. I anticipate that he would be here for a while. What's your thoughts on that possibility? Let's start with Delusional. Shout out to Delusional, man. It's been like 6 months, man. We appreciate you rocking with us, dropping by.
Man. 6 months DMP. I thought it was, you know, I had the OG injury. You know, I was going to come back eventually. I just had to spice it up. I had to keep everybody on their toes. No, it's definitely a pleasure to be back. This is definitely the home for me, Knick Nation. Latoria B, it's a pleasure being on the stage. Jerrell, always kicking in the queen. Definitely the best show on the planet. One thing about the Knicks, we're an analytical team now. It's something that I'm really starting to look into now. Even I think the Jesus Christ, what's his name? Point guard that we just got, Alvarado trade. That was an analytical move due to the fact of his defensive stats, right? We wasn't looking at his stature. So that was a move that we made because he's a small guard. Even for me, I kind of question that aspect. Like, I know he plays defense, but how well can he gel with our system and how we do? And you've seen the good and the bad. You saw the first game debuted, played really well. Then the next game at the Garden was pretty bad. Then, of course, you saw that next game where he was just dropping threes and 5 steals. And then, of course, they make this pickup. And to my knowledge, I'm like, we have Diawara, 6'9", because, you know, Coach also mentioned a big body. And I'm like, well, Diawara is 6'9". Sohan's, you know, 6'8", so he can still play that. And Diawara is shooting over 40% from the field. But when he made that comment about familiarity with the refs, that plays a role. Sohan, obviously 3-year veteran in the game. The refs understand his gameplay of defensive wise, like the way he gets dirty, where he moves his hands. So certain calls that Diawara will possibly get called to foul, Sohan won't. And that plays a role. And then, of course, his ability to play the 1 through 5, FC stated, that's very important. You know, there's back-to-back, no Mitch, still need defensive presence. And we're starting to see that coach they don't trust the younger guys for these clutch moments. And when it comes to playoff time period, you need to have players that you can kind of rely on. And Sohan was pretty much drafted under Coach Pop. You know, this is Coach Brown under Pop. You know, these are tutelage. So these are players that they kind of look for. So I believe he's 100% came in the fact knowing that he's going to get minutes. And it just so happens that it's going to take our rookie, Diawara. But I think it's probably for the best.
Do you think that this changes Diawara's trajectory? Because I know you do hear Knick fans saying, you know, oh, this is going to stunt somebody's growth. Do you think this changes Diawara's upside, his ceiling, the trajectory?
I don't think so. And mainly because of, you know, the veteran of Mikal. Mikal has been in these young guys' ears to kind of keep them going. He's been like staying late to practice and working with them. And of course, you still got the G League. But for Diawara, we've seen the hunger from the beginning. You know, we've seen the development from the beginning. So I don't think it's going to change. I think this is processed similar to what we did with Deuce. I knew coming in high that Deuce was going to be good, but it took time for him to develop. And we saw games of spurts where he dominated, but then, of course, why is he not getting minutes? And then we signed him for a crazy we signed him for $4 million for each year. We know darn well that he deserves more money. So this is possibly something that we're going to do with Diawara. In the all season, we're probably going to have to hit the second apron. Bringing him on to a smaller contract is possible, because another team could swoop him up if we constantly give him minutes and he's showing the production. So this is a business aspect as well of just like saying, hey, we bring in somebody to win a championship. And that's the end goal. We got to sacrifice because the goal is the chip. I'm about to say, Latoria, show that hat real quick. Get. Exactly. That's the goal.
And the chip this year. And correct. I think that's the difference. It's like, you know, like, oh, we have a window. I do think the Knicks have a window, but they are prioritizing this year. Latoria, and then we'll get to Knick Nation and Jerrell. What's your thoughts on this?
We talking about Modi's minutes, correct?
That's Sohan. It sounds like
it's going to be taking a line. I don't think it's going to stunt his growth. I think he's going to learn. a lot from Sohan. So while he may not get as many minutes as he got before, especially going into this playoff run, I think if we brought Sohan in for his defense and his rebounding, then I think he will get a lion's share of the minutes just to acclimate him into our system a little bit more. But I don't think it's going to be at the detriment of Mo D. I think he's going to learn a lot from him. So, and I think he's still going to get playing time. I mean, just because Sohan is getting minutes doesn't mean that Diawara's minutes are gonna like vanish. I think maybe he'll lose a couple of minutes here and there, and then you get to rest OG a little bit more. You get to rest Mikal a little bit more. You get to rest for as much as Mitch doesn't play a lot of minutes. You even get to rest him a little bit more, even a cat a little bit more, because you got more defense on the actual court. So one, I don't think his minutes are going to get diminished to the point that he's not out there where he's getting like 1 or 2 minutes a game. And two, I think he's going to learn. Even though Sohan is young, he has playing experience, and Diawara doesn't. He's getting his experience now, so you get to watch a player. You get to learn a few tricks of the trade. So I think it's going to be a good thing. I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. And it adds depth to this team that we just didn't have before. So I'm excited. I'm literally super excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So am I. Knick Nation, what's your thoughts?
I'll capitalize off just how she said it. In a sense, is it really depends on how the player, I believe, mentally accepts it. Just like anything else, if he mentally accepts it and says, "Yeah, this guy's a veteran. He's been in the league for for a few years. He has a great defensive presence. What I can learn from him," or he could be a player that, hopefully he doesn't shell inside of himself and say, hey, they went out and got somebody else. They don't think I'm good enough. Hopefully at this age, he understands that experience is experience. And, if he can gain from it, it definitely doesn't hurt his trajectory at all. If anything else, it could propel him so that he understands how he has to prepare, what edge, what kind of edge he needs to bring on defense, what his mentality should be, how he, where to be at a certain point of a time, how to spread your arms, how to absorb that contact, and then, and do it fiercely. So hopefully he's one of those, kids that just says, hey, I'm 20 years old. I can still learn and I can still figure this out. I just think that between Mike Brown and the front office, I'm sure they've had a long discussion on this and where they want to be as far as what they want to do with him. If they want him, playing, X, Y, and Z minutes, I'm sure that this has all probably been somewhat of a plan that's probably been laid out probably before they even made the move. And I'm pretty sure with this break that they've had a huge meeting to discuss what they think, the projection of their future is, and to hopefully to get some form of a cohesiveness, because it is a lot of players that are being cycled in and out, because it takes a minute for these guys to get on the same page. So if we look at it, on this team, it's been a little bit of a revolving door. And I think that in order for us to be, going into the playoffs, where it gets down to it and you get to these, first stage, second stage, that term of being on a string, they need to be on a string. So hopefully this pace can, I don't know if you can speed it up or not. We just got to hopefully it catches fire. That's my, my take as far as on it. Because I think Mike Brown's just in a difficult position.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you think that he needs to tighten up the rotation, whether it's 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, figure out what your rotation is and kind of run that, get that 8, 9, 10 man rotation, some reps going into the playoffs?
I think that whatever the amount of the rotation is, if it's 9, 9.5, I think that, players going into the playoffs need to understand what their roles are. And once they can understand what their roles are, they can excel at them. But right now, it's still very, up and down, very roller coaster-ish. So with that being said, I'm just not sure. I think this is like Mike Brown said in his press conference. It's like a thing that he will see to see how these minutes and if these players can, be cohesive together. And if not, I think he'll have to position himself and maybe change things up on the fly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Welcome, Geoff.
Hey, Jeff.
We're talking about Mike Brown's comments regarding Diawara and Sohan. We're gonna get to Jerrell first, and then we'll come to you.
Sounds good.
Steph, we did kind of go through this last week. Nothing has really changed for me because of the press conference. I kind of figured that Sohan would take the backup power forward minutes that Yabusele should have had. That was the only reason Diawara was playing in the first place, and I think of Diawara more as a 3 anyway. So I think of him more as a wing than a 4. Sohan could play either or, but he's been playing power forward since he's been in the league, and it's a good thing that OG Anunoby is coming back soon. He was at full practice today. So a lot of these minutes are going to be taken up anyway. But yeah, I don't see a problem going forward when it comes to Diawara and his his maturation process. He doesn't have enough skin in the game for him to, act out in any way. Like, we can send him to the G League at this point, and maybe he can actually work out there for him to get minutes if they want to, make sure that, he got the blood flowing every night, and him actually getting a lot of minutes and having experience. Send him to the G League, because he might not get that many minutes here.
Yeah. Geoff, did you get a chance to listen to Mike Brown's press conference?
A little bit. I didn't really get to do too much. It's been a busy, crazy day. What exactly did he say, just to make sure that it is what I thought he said?
Somebody, you know how the Knicks press conferences is, you can barely hear the questions, but from his answer, it seemed like somebody asked him about Diawara's time with Sohan, and he was saying that he really wants to prioritize Sohan so he can get a sense of who he is going into the playoffs, a sense of what he has going into the playoffs. And then he talked about, veterans, and they know the refs know them, and like Delusional said, the refs know Sohan, so he may be able to get away with some things that Diawara wasn't. I thought the key point was when he said, look what happened to Kolick when we brought in Alvarado, something like that, he said. And that's when I was like, oh well, I don't even know if Diawara is going to play now, because if you look at Kolick, he's not really playing unless the game is, out of hand. So the question was, just your thoughts on a player that the Knicks just signed, who may not even be here next year, getting more time than somebody who I think the Knicks are going to sign and going to be here a long time.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think from the standpoint of Jerermy Sochan doesn't have experience with this crew, and Diawara does, so you definitely want to get him acclimated to, and I'm not sure if you can just do that in practice or if you need to get him some real life game reps. But other than Anunoby, Sohan provides something that nobody else on this roster really does. He's a wing with size who can defend at an elite level. And so, no disrespect meant to Diawara. If you want to tell me that Diawara's ceiling is higher than Sohan's, I'm not going to argue that. If you want to say that Diawara's offensive game is already superior to Sohan's, I will echo that sentiment 100%, 10 times out of 10. But they're not the same player. They don't provide the same things to the lineup. And so if you're looking for lineup versatility, and if you need a lockdown on a given possession, I'm much more comfortable if Sohan is the defender in that spot than Diawara. If I need a bucket, I don't want Sohan anywhere near the floor, because I just think his offensive game is broken. But especially from shooting percentage standpoint. But so I think that with Jerermy, Mike Brown's going to like him because he can defend, and he's long. And if you put him in lineups with OG and Mikal, he can really wreak some havoc. I think you have to be careful with who you put him on the court with. I would prefer that he be on the floor with 4 guys who can score and shoot, because that kind of minimizes his deficiencies. But, I'll be surprised if Sohan gets a ton of minutes either way. If we're talking about a healthy roster, I don't think you're talking about a great deal of minutes anyway. I'm not sure I'm not sure it's a huge problem that it's not Diawara's time yet, in my opinion, anyway. So I think it's okay if he cooks a little bit on the bench and in the G League.
Yeah, I mean, the sense I got was that he wants to get a good look at him before the playoffs. Now, what comes out of that good look, whether that means he's in the rotation, out the rotation, who knows? But he wants to get a good look at him before the playoffs. Ajay, if you want to join us, or is he? You can. Um,
Oh, there you go. I was like, where am I going to fit on this panel full of superstars?
it just moves us. It just moves us.
I was like,
just
let me
moves us
squeeze in
around.
between somebody and somebody here. I don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to the chat too. DopeSoulSports in the house, man. Whenever we talk about them young players, man, DopeSoulSports Rex gonna be in the house. I will say this. It's not really about comparing Sohan's game to Diawara's game. Yeah, I don't think that's. I think it's about what does the Knick need? What do the Knicks need? Like, what is Sohan bringing that the Knicks need? What is Diawara bringing that the Knicks need? And I think that Diawara does bring 3-point shooting, which has been pretty consistent of late overall, over 40%. But the Knicks are a really good 3-point shooting team anyway. So like he does add to that, and I think that's great. I'm not taking anything, away from that. But Sohan brings something that we don't have. And and now we might have two, like somebody who can guard these big wings, these big point guards, and who's elite at it, from what I understand. Now, I have not poured over the advanced stats, but from what I understand, he is an elite wing defender. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And having that lineup versatility, being able to put him on a Cade, being able to put him on a Jaylen Brown, being able to put him on a Siakam, even. I don't think he's stopping any of those guys, but he's going to make it tough. And you know whether he's in the rotation or not, seeing what he can do, that I can trust this guy, right? It's one thing to be in San Antonio and seeing him on film, is another thing to actually play him with different lineups under your eye as a coach and be able to say, I trust this guy. I've seen it for myself. I think he can help us. I've seen it for myself in terms of what we are trying to do. I do think Diawara is going to get time. And I think Diawara, he has a higher ceiling, in my opinion, than Sohan. But it's more about what they bring to the Knicks, more so than like, comparing them to each other. So listen, other than OG, and he even mentioned like when OG is out, Sohan can play. When OG goes out, we don't have first of all, we're not very tall. And then when OG is out, it's even worse. Right? It's even worse. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he brings on that end, and some of the lineups that if you want to close with a Mitch, a Sohan, a OG, a Deuce, around Brunson or Bridges, if Deuce is out, just to get a stop here and there. We're not like closing the entire game, but look, we need a stop. We need to protect this lead. You have lineups that you can put in. Ajay, any comment on Sohan, at least initially, maybe getting more minutes over Diawara? To me personally, I think it's going to be the Alvarado Kolick situation, but we shall see.
I don't I don't think he's gonna. Oh, first of all, salute to you all and salute to the chat. Sorry for being about 2.5 minutes late. but
Two
I'm
and a
here
half.
now. um, I listen. Mike Brown's gonna have to manage the situation, man. I think, and he is. I think he's gonna find minute for Jerermy Sochan because he's the kind of body, the kind of defense that you need on the team. I think that's where they got him, and you know, again, and I said that during the last show. I don't think they brought him here just to sit on the bench. So there had to be some sort of discussion with him. I mean, this guy's like 22 years old. He's not going to come here and kill his career over here and sit on the bench. So there had to be some sort of discussion with him. Like, listen, man, we're gonna play you a certain amount of minutes every night, for you to be here, because he could have went on to another team. I don't think Diawara is going to suffer too much. I think Mike Brown. I mean, there are. Even up to this point, there are lineups that Mike Brown put out there because he didn't have the big bodies, right? All those little 2-3 little guards joints that he's been putting out there is because he didn't have the right players. And if he has the right players, I think Jerermy Sochan is going to replace one of those guards. Who is it? I don't know. I have no idea. And I think we can pretty much tell that Jordan Clarkson's not going to be getting a lot of minutes. He's already not getting a lot. He's probably going to be parked from this point unless we need like a 3-point, a couple of 3 points. I don't know, but I don't see him getting a whole lot of minutes. He wasn't getting much anyway, but whatever little bit of minutes was going to him is probably going to go to Jerermy Sochan. So between that and whatever he's going to be chipping away from the little guard lineups that he was getting, he's probably going to get enough minutes to satisfy him. So again, I don't think he would have just come here, just to sit on the bench. So something was discussed, and we just have to wait and see how Mike Brown manages the situation.
If you want to call it a situation. Let me just put this chat up from Paul Mason. Sohan is young. He's 22. He was doing these things in the Spurs for 2 years. He's not a scorer and thus lost his spot. We don't need more scoring, but we do need a versatile defensive wing. Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Queen, goes back to what you complain about. Can we get one of those versatile defensive wings who can also put score a couple of buckets?
You're not getting them on the buyout. If you're an elite defender and you can score buckets, we not getting you on the buyout. We're not gonna get you on the buyout market.
Yeah, we
That's a
don't
fact.
need. That's true. That's true. But we don't need him scoring
But
20
we don't
points a
need
game.
it, right? We don't need it. We don't need the scoring. We need the defense. We need the height. We need the athleticism. That's what we need. The toughness, right? Right, Nick Nation.
Yeah.
We need a dog.
Facts.
That's what you call them.
Facts. We got 2 of them.
So
We didn't even talk about the toughness and the energy.
Right.
Yeah,
we need that was pretty much it. It was that the things that we need, we picked up from it. You ever do a jigsaw puzzle, right? You look at the puzzle and a really hard one, because I'll never forget, me and my grandmother did one and it was all black. Like the whole puzzle. That's what it was. It was like a dark black thing. That was it. No pictures, no nothing. You sitting there and you trying to find pieces and pieces and pieces. Sometimes you sit down for hours, never find one. Sometimes you sit down, you found 2 or 3. I feel like we found the couple of pieces that we needed to plug the hole for this team. And I think that's what we picked up when we picked up Sohan and Alvarado. So it feels great. That's why I broke my hat out. Like I'm all for the trophies. That's why the hat is out today.
Yeah,
I think it's true.
you hit it.
Ajay says.
Go ahead, Nick Nation.
I was saying, I think it's true. Like Ajay says, I think they listen to the show.
Yeah, they probably do. They listening.
Yeah.
Either that or we're
Pieces.
just a whole lot smarter than people are giving us credit for.
There you go.
Right. Jerrell, you was gonna say something?
One thing with this comment, the Spurs don't necessarily need offense either.
Right.
And I actually did want to ask Geoff, because he's a lot closer to the situation than anybody else is when it comes to the Spurs. So was there any type of wild stories coming out? Like, I understand that Sohan, like, he lost his spot and he lost like his spot in the rotation, but him getting cut was I did not expect that. So like
I
when
don't.
he get cut, like getting
I
cut
don't.
is
I don't remember hearing anything like that. Spurs fans love Jeremy Sohan.
no.
Like they legitimately did. I think Knicks fans are really going to like him when he's on the court. I mean, he literally can switch 1 through 5. Like he's not, he may not be the best defender in the universe, but he's way above average. And I think part of it is he wasn't in their future plans, and I think part of it is they wanted to do him a solid because his minutes had really
That's where I'm at.
had really dwindled to nothing, and they had a relationship with him, and so like, let's buy him out, let him go where he wants to go, and move on, because we have the wing depth that we need, and we have other players that we want to put in those positions rather than Sohan, and we have different needs at this time than a guy with his skills, and so I think it was as much about that as it was. At least that's to my understanding, as opposed to like some scandal or something like that. If you're looking at stats to justify Sohan, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're looking at what he can do on the court, I think he's kind of like a poor man's Josh Hart in a lot of ways.
Right. Like he's the type of player, like if you're on the opposing team, you hate his guts. Like he's annoying.
He's a pest, right?
Like he's really, really an agitator. Like I
he
never
gets
liked
under
him
players' skin really well, and that's something the Knicks don't really have anybody who does that. And so, he is able to get under the skin of good players and sometimes throw them off their game. If he can do that in 4 or 5 minutes and get somebody in somebody's head rent free for the rest of the game, that could be extremely valuable in a playoff series.
Like, unfortunately, I saw that firsthand because when he went to Baylor, he knocked off the Tar Heels in the tournament. So he's been like on, public enemy number 1 for me for like the past 4 years. I never liked him.
It's personal.
It's personal for me. Like I never liked this dude for a reason. It's but it's good things for him though as a player. He is an agitator. That's what he's good at. Like he's really scrappy. Energy out of this world. He's going to be everywhere. He's long. He's athletic. Like he's going to be a fan favorite here. I do believe so.
Then you got to think too, right? He's on a buyout market. I think they did him a solid by putting him out there. Like I think because they could have traded him, right? And then now you're going where we want you to go. So I think they did him a solid. But you also got to think about the talent that San Antonio brought in. Castle, Vassell, they got Harper. Like these guys, he's never going to be these guys. Right? He's never going to be those guys. So that doesn't mean he's a bad player. Doesn't take away from his talent, but he's never going to develop into those guys. So I think they really like this kid and they put him on the market so he could go somewhere where he's going to be valuable to a team, because he's just not valuable to them. The players they got are head and shoulders above this guy, but doesn't make him a horrible player. It just means that they picked up some really good talent. So I think we just got lucky picking this guy up. I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he's a bad fit here. I think he plugs a lot of the holes that we have. And I think San Antonio just wanted to do right by him. Let him go and choose where he wants to go. He's not they've never had it. I've never heard anything bad about this guy from that team. So
yeah, 9 other teams wanted him.
Yeah, he had 10 teams he could have went to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he chose the Knicks. So that says a lot about this organization now, because there was a time when no one wanted to come here. We couldn't sell, we couldn't buy people. Like, listen, we give you extra money. They're like, nope. So, we give you an extra few dollars. We can get some under the table Kawhi Leonard money. They're like, nope.
Latori, I think you made a really good point. And maybe as Knicks fans, maybe we have to shift a little bit, right? Because like the argument of when you bring somebody in, comparing their talent to another player's talent, maybe that's just not where it's at anymore when you're a championship team. Right. Now it's about plugging holes and bringing in situational guys and how does this make the roster stronger, and if we come up against this type of team or this type of player, do we have anybody for that? Or do we have a lineup for that? And I think that's where the Knicks are right now. Pieces, versatile pieces. Maybe in some playoffs, series, a player or two may not play because they're not suited for that series. And you could do that when you have diverse pieces. And then the next, series, that player is prominent, and they're getting more right. I think as Knick fans, we may need to, if we haven't already, start shifting toward that type of thing. Sohan, defense, energy, toughness. That's it. Play him to his strengths. Put him in lineups that suits his strength. I mean, listen, we got Cat, who's good on one side of the ball, coming along on another. Like, all of these players have strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to the coach to get the best out of them and hide their weakness. That's going to be correct. That's going to be on on Mike Brown to do.
Right.
That's
It's just
and that's that player, that roster management thing that I talk about all the time, that Mike Brown's going to have to do that, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the same starting lineup. And there's an argument to be made that you got to start the same guys so they can develop a chemistry, right? Because that's what's always been done in the NBA. But when you look at other sports, you don't always start the same player. You start depending on who your opponent is, like who's the better matchup, who gives you a best chance of beating who's on the other side, right? And it's not us Knicks fan that probably going to have to shift from that. I think the NBA might have to shift from that with all the different type of talents they're going to have. This is the first time, well, one of the very few times that you see a team that probably going to have to do what you just said is, we've seen that in the past where they would start the same starting lineup, but then 2 minutes in they'll pull somebody out. Why even bother? Just start with the right guy and begin, in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So that might be the shift that we're seeing right now.
I think there's a balance between changing the starting lineup and, every time you come against a team, to try to match up with a team, there's a balance between that and continuity.
Well,
so is that balance between the two.
It is a balance, and he has to manage it, right? And especially in a playoff series, right? When you meet the same team over and over and over until you come up, against a different opponent, right? So our starting lineup for the entire season may be different. Let's say when we run into a different team in the playoffs. I think they have to look at the analytics and see, okay, well, it's better if we plug this guy in, against this team to start the game. I think they'll do that. I think that's.
I mean, anything is possible. Most teams don't change their starting lineups, particularly when. I'm just saying, most teams don't.
I know. I think they're gonna start doing that because with analytics. That's like the Moneyball version, the baseball Moneyball version of this. If you know what that is in baseball, that's they do that in other sports. That's what I'm saying. And it's every sport is different, but they do that. I don't know. Maybe in any NBA they can start looking at that.
No, I guess to piggyback off of it is that.
Yeah, like I had. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say teams don't really do that, and I really don't think it's about who starts your game. I think it's about who finishes. So, you're gonna put your same five out there every night, but when you need to make adjustments, you make your adjustments down the stretch. Like I don't foresee them switching out the starting lineup. Like, all right, Josh, you sit and we're gonna play Sohan in this game, and this one sit. Like, I just think that'll wreck chemistry. Like, you gotta every day I'm coming in and I don't know what I'm doing in the game, so. I just don't see that, but you know what? It don't matter who starts. At the end of the game, you're gonna have the 5 best players that you need on the court in that moment. So it's just about who finish. You could start the players and one play 4 minutes and then go to the bench. Like, so I don't see them switching the starting lineup.
I think maybe only in like unique situations where you get a team that has double bigs out there or something like that. But otherwise, I think we'll probably stay pat. I just don't see him doing something like that, not this far into the season. And if you get into the playoff point, you know what I mean? Like, it has to be something that's more of a unique situation where you're just dominated by, like, say, like OKC, where if they're starting like two bigs or something like that, you may have to try to match that energy, or you know what I mean, or maybe even use an additional guy like Sohan as opposed to, you know what I mean, and moving OG to the small forward and Sohan to the power forward. Something in a unique point situation like that, but just arbitrarily switching them at this stage, nah, I don't see that either. And I don't think it would be good.
I want to get to delusional, but I will say we automatically assume if it's a mismatch, the taller player is going to win. Like we automatically assume, oh, this team is big. We have to match their bigness. Okay, so we're going to change our starting lineup. They got to match up with you too. That big has to cover your small as well. And that small has advantages as well. So it's not automatically that the taller player or the taller team is going to win. And the second thing I'll say is be careful about changing your lineup before you even play a game. We didn't even play a game. You just looked at them on paper and you're like, oh, we got like what message does that send to your team, and what message does that send, to the other team as well? They played this starting lineup for 82 games, and now against us, they changing it up. I mean, got to look at those things as well. But delusional, you wanted to say? I don't know if we left any meat on the bone. Hopefully, you wanted to say something different.
Yeah, well, no, what I was going to say is that the only reason why we saw those multiple lineups where we had a lot of injuries, we know once everyone is healthy, we're going to have the same starting five. And then the bench rotation is the only thing that's really going to change depending on matchups. Like you said, if it's a double big that we need to go out, or if, we need to have a bigger forward, this is why we have Sohan, because there was a point of time where you'll see that Diawara would start some games when it was a bigger forward that we needed to match up with. And then we've had Shamit start some games where it's like, okay, there's smaller guards, we need more shooting on the floor, and we went with that aspect. So it's just really starting five will stay the same. It's just a bench that the minutes will kind of fluctuate.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else about this before we move on to our assessment? Doing the midseason review, the second part of it, starting with Mike Brown. Anything else about Sohan? I know DopeSoulSports is a little down on him. I don't think this is the comment though where he summarized it, but basically he sees him more as someone who just has size, who's slow laterally, can't shoot the basketball, and the only thing he has is size.
Wait, he said he's slow laterally?
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree with that, and he has some ball skills too. He has some ball skills as well. He on a steal, he can get out on the break like Josh Hart, and and score the basketball. Similar to Alvarado, he's not a perfect player. He has flaws. Alvarado has flaws, but again, pieces, as Latoria said, pieces. For those who have seen him play more recently, how is he laterally? How is his lateral movement? I think he said because he's 260 pounds.
I think he's 230. I think he's like
He's
230.
230. Yeah, he's 230.
He's not 260.
I was about to say that man 260.
Before he's more of a slight. He's more like he's a power forward, but he's more like a OG Anunoby type of power forward, like a 3 playing the 4 in 2023. I mean 2026. Like he's not a traditional power forward. And I think I looked up his defensive numbers. I think his perimeter defense like rated out to like a A+. Is everything else you can talk about him, like with his shooting, his offensive game. He could still score around the basket. He's not an offensive guy, but yeah, lateral quickness isn't a problem for me. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah. And I don't think he needs to be cat quick, right? He just needs to be able to move laterally for the players that he's guarding, right? It's not like he's going to be out there guarding, I don't know, Allen Iverson, like when Allen Iverson was playing, right? He doesn't need to be cat quick. He just needs to be quick enough, move his feet well enough laterally to not our cat. CAT, you know, to move his, to stay in front of the guys that he's guarding. I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by Sohan for his role. Don't fall into my trap, expecting big things from Mikal Bridges, and now I'm all frustrated because he's being himself, and I'm expecting, something else. If you keep your expectations where it's at, I think
Yep.
you're gonna like what he brings to our team.
Yep.
All right. Um, any anything else before we move on to our thoughts on Mike Brown for the season?
One other thing that was mentioned in the chat, the Spurs let him go because they have Carter Bryant, who's younger and has a better contract situation, and I forgot about that. So that's a really good point. Bryant is very similar in profile as a player, a little bit better of a shooter, and is also a strong defender. And they didn't want to offer him the qualifying offer, so all of that comes into play with his availability as well. And again, if I don't think he's going to be like a super big rotation piece for us at any point. Like if he got Obi Toppin minutes, I would be like stunned. Like I don't think he's going to be more than an 8 or a 10-minute per game guy if they use him. That's just how I feel about it.
That's a very good point with Carter Bryant. I forgot about that dynamic. He was in the dunk contest this past weekend too. Very athletic kid, so I can see them picking one over the other if they had a choice.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Mike Brown. So we're going to get back into the segment of doing our mid-season or not so mid-season review. I think we covered Brunson, Cat, maybe somebody else last week. Today we might just get to Mike Brown. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get to Wingstop because I do want to talk about Detroit and I do want to talk about what we want to see from the Knicks post All-Star break, how they can solidify this themselves in the Eastern Conference. But as we all know, Tom Thibodeau was fired. After the Knicks went to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Knicks front office was looking for something different. I don't think it was more basketball. I don't think it was basketball related. It was more collaborative related. For me, I was looking for something different. And schematically, I think the front office was more concerned about, how they all got along. But whatever your expectations were of Mike Brown or whoever the Knicks coach would be, do you feel like you've seen that in Mike Brown compared to your expectations coming in? Delusional?
100%. If we're kind of giving out grades, I think at this moment he gets a B plus for me. The offense right now, we're ranked third in offensively currently right now, and we're ranked 11th in defense. That's pretty much higher than what we were last year at this point in time. Granted, though, under Tibbs, we were, I want to say, 36-19. Right now, we're 35-20. So still at the similar par, but the offense is better. We've seen development from, our players along the bench. I think managing the minutes has been pretty good to where even though we've had more injuries this year, it's not those long, crazy injuries that, Brunson had sprained ankles. He was out for like the end of the year, then had to gradually come back, or OG when he had his injuries. I think these are injuries that we can manage. And then we had the next man up mentality. And I think, overall coach has been doing a wonderful job. And I've stated before, one thing that I truly love about this coach is how he communicates. He sees something wrong during the game, and it's a gift and a curse, but then he comes and he'd tell you, this is why we lost. We had this game plan. We veered from it. We did this. We can get better. So the fact that he knows what to work on, the coaching staff in general, the offensive coach and the defensive coach, seeing them on the sideline, coaching, giving guys, the go-to. So I just love overall the coaching staff in general. The organization, what they're doing, bringing in players that we need. Everyone's saying we need to get this player. We need to get this player. They're listening. So I think overall, B plus for everything right now.
Why not an A?
Why not an A? And that's, I mean, number one offense would have been an A. Top 10 defense would have been an A. Us not being fully healthy, but then I need to see what coach do in the playoffs. I need to see the adjustments that we do during the playoffs. Now I've seen we are a great second half adjustment team too. We'll see something that happens in the first half, we correct it in the second and usually win the game. So still a B plus, but to get to that A, Larry O'Brien.
Wow. Okay. All right. Ajay?
Are we giving grades? Listen,
however you want to do it. If you want to give a grade, you can. You don't have to.
So far, I'm satisfied with what Mike Brown's doing. Yeah, we had a little stretch there where everybody was questioning what is he doing, but I mean, those are growing pains, right? You have a new coach, new system. Yeah, they did a pretty good job starting the season, and they hit a couple of bumps on the road. And now with new players, there's probably going to be another little stretch where we're going to have some issues also because we have new players in the mix that he has to, like he said, try to get him in, try to get him some burn before the playoffs so you can see what he has, like what hand he was dealt, right? So listen, let's just sit back, relax, and enjoy. I think so far, I don't have, like, in terms of the way he's managing the roster, there haven't been too many situations where you could say, like Mike Brown effed up on that one, or anything like that. We lost games. That's part of the NBA. But again, so far you really can't say that. But the playoffs will tell us a lot about the coach and X's and O's and the adjustments that he made and his managing the roster and all that stuff, right? But again, so far so good. All right, if I'm giving him a grade, it's probably going to be A minus.
Okay. I mean, you once said a team shouldn't lose a game because of the coach. There's been a few games. There's been a few games where down the stretch, in terms of some of those lineups, where I questioned whether or not the Knicks could have pulled that game out if other decisions
weren't made. Well, I mean,
were made, but there's no way to know though when it comes to lineup. Somebody hits a few shots, and now it's a whole other story. But there have been times near the end of the game where I was like,
no, but
I'm not.
I mean, there's always going to be questions. Even Tibbs was here for how many years? I could probably think maybe 2-3 games. Like I said, he definitely cost us that game because every game there's always questions, right? But like I said, so far there's not anything. There's not a game where we say it's 100% Mike Brown's fault that we lost that game because there's a game I don't remember what game it was. He was trying to do that, but then Cat got fouled out, and he didn't have a choice. He had to pull him because he was trying to go down with the Cat chip on that game. I can't remember which game it was. That Cat was having a terrible game, and he was committing fouls, sending people to the line, doing all kind of crazy stuff. He got fouled out, and everything worked out fine. So, but yeah, there's always going to be questions. But so far,
All right, Jerrell.
Mike Brown. The only thing I have negative to say about Mike Brown, because I agree with everything that Delusional said about the grading system and why he should get a B. Why I don't give him an A is maybe because like the communication I see, but I don't like him communicating to the media like he does. Some of the stuff seemed like it's a little bit much for me, talking about his players and what they did wrong and how they handle stuff at halftime, and I don't know, like stuff like that I don't really like. I like my coaches to be tight-lipped when it comes to the media and stuff that's happening in the locker room. But other than that, Mike Brown hasn't been bad. I actually think he's been a good coach. He's been I don't know, the lineups. I like the lineups, him switching in and out to see what he likes. Yeah, I don't really have that much negative to say about him yet. Like, I don't think he has lost us that many games. I'm not on the AJ train when it says like a coach should never have us losing a game. Like, coaches, players, refs, God, anybody can have us lose a game sometimes. Like, it doesn't really matter when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, I give him a B, a B plus if we grading on a curve, but as a B for right now, because we're pretty much the same place we were last year when it comes to record wise. I don't think we're any worse in any area on offense or defense. I think it's peaks and valleys when it comes to both of those sides of the floor for us. Hopefully during the playoffs, we'll be on the peak and we'll be actually playing defense like we're supposed to. Other than that, I don't see what he can actually do for this team. Anything else that's like a negative part for this team is like a roster issue, not like a coaching issue for me.
Okay. All right. Latoria?
Hold on real quick, Steph. I'm about to
Yeah.
roll out. Y'all have a
Okay.
good week.
Appreciate you.
I see y'all
Appreciate
next week. Peace.
See you
Peace.
next week, brother.
Jerrell.
Love you, bro.
Be good, brother.
As for me with Mike Brown, my issues with him don't have nothing to do with X's and O's. I like Jerrell did not like none of that mess he was doing in the media with Cat. I didn't like that whole hugging Draymond at the end of the game. I don't like the fact that Draymond tripped him and kind of injured him. And he sat on the bench and act like he didn't see it. Like those things just rub me wrong. Once he did that, I'm like, I don't know if I like this guy. And it still sticks with me. Every time I look at him, I see the exact same thing. My beef with him don't have nothing to do with that. He's talented
I,
enough. You can hear me?
I think you're cutting out. Yeah, you're cutting in and out though.
You can hear me now? I'm good.
I
You're a
believe
little
so.
low, but we can hear you.
I'm gonna see if I could cut it up on this end. Yeah, go ahead.
Like I was saying, I don't know how much of a
You said every time you look at him, you see that. Hello, you still there? Did you say she was gonna go out and come back or something?
I don't
couldn't
know. I
hear
can't hear it all, but I can't hear thunder. So
All right. Nick Nation, then Geoff.
I'm gonna give him between a C to a C, between a C and C plus. It's some of the things like Latoria was saying, that hugging Draymond, that not really putting your stamp, I think, on a team when you come in, being it that he's still trying to get familiar as well with the team. I don't think he exactly had the horses that he needed, but what we have now is what we're going to have from here out on in. So I would kind of, understand and push toward his grade there, because now he has certain other horses, certain other defenders, and I want to see how he actually pulls the strings now. But currently, as he has been for the year, I think it's just been a roller coaster. So I can't really give him a high grade because he hasn't come in and said, hey, this is the direction. He hasn't, defined each player's role yet. It's still a wait and see shift. That may be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing as well. So therefore, that's why I'm, kind of in the middle on the point of his grading as far as between a C to C plus, because I don't think I've seen anything that's outstandingly great, with him. I do like some of the things that he does as far as communication right there on the spot. But there's been plenty of times where I think Mike Brown has had players in a little too long, or he, I'm looking for somebody as well, for a coach as well. When I say put a stamp on it, is to honestly to rein Brunson in at times, because I think that mental toughness that you kind of see it as a coach, and I think a coach reflects it onto his player is that, hey, you stop running my system and you start going to a selfish degree, yeah, I'm calling a timeout. Because as a team, I think there's at times he needs to have a discussion. We all love Brunson, and he's this dude carries us. but there is times where it is at his detriment. And I think that Brown needs to press that at times and say something. We could point to a lot of things that Cat may do wrong, but there's a times with Brunson as well. And if you're a player that loves to be coached, which Brunson says he loves to be coached, and hear those hard decisions, those are things that I think that he needs to do. And to me, he's praised Brunson, which you should do as, a world beater. But there's points in times where even in those press conference and other things where he seems to swim away from him and he'll kind of take at everybody else. But to me, hey, it points to the captain because the captain sets too much of that tone. So I think there's times where Brown has waffled and not really said, here, put his full stamp on it. Now, that could be part of what we'll say as far as management and their cohesiveness and everything like that, because, hey, we've all had bosses and other things above us. And we go, we may say to other people, because as me as a supervisor for years, I know that there was my bosses may have said certain things, but I would say to my workers, he don't know what he's talking about. This is what we're going to do. But at this change in point of this, like I say, at this point in the season, I'm still giving them a C. You know what I mean? We're not at the top of the East. You know what I mean? So there's extreme room for improvement. We're sitting at number 3 right now. So call me, as far as suspect in that sense. But yeah, this is how I see it. And until he can prove me wrong in the playoffs and get us there, that's when I would give him I would increase his grade. But right now, I just don't see it. I don't see where he's actually put his full stamp on his team.
And so by that you mean you're not seeing much difference in terms of offensive scheme from last year, not much difference in terms of defensive scheme? Is it more stamped in terms of his philosophy, or is it more schematic stamp? Like
it's a combination of all of it, but his presence on the court and how he dictates and how he moves, period. That's just sets of who you are. And I think at times, Brown does an excellent job at explaining things, after the fact when we're sitting in there, Monday quarterbacking, when he's being asked questions, he has a great sense of points of answers. But if you have those great sense of points of answers, those things need to be portrayed and dictated to your players. Real time, real things, and really what's happening. But a lot of times is that we'll have a lot of these mental lapses where everybody has it in the league. There's no what's name here, to focus. But then there's at times where, I just don't think that he's tough enough on these guys, on specifically on our captain. I'm not going to admonish Brunson and say that he doesn't do wrong or he's not in the right, because a lot of times when we get geared into those or pigeonholed into that position, that's Brunson. That's Brunson pigeonhole us into that position. And I think that at critical times, when the game tightens up, you have to be mentally disciplined in order to stay here. I'm still going to run the coach's system. And when we don't, and when we divert back, I think Brown sits back and watches and not, not makes an impression and say, hey, timeout. This is not what we're doing, Brunson. You need to run this system. I don't see it.
That's really tough. I will say this. You as an NBA coach, one, you got to have a good relationship with your best player. I don't know how much cachet he has just yet to tell Brunson that this is what he needs to be doing. That relationship in the NBA, particularly, super important if you're going to be here for a while, and a while by NBA standards. You have to build that relationship. Once you start building that relationship, then you can be like, nah, you got to sit down, you got to do this, whatever, and they're going to respect you and they're going to respond because you put that time in. Number one. Number two, the best players in this league, you have to give them that leeway. And you hear coaches talk about this, all the time. Even Mike Brown said, yeah, I have a system. But when you have players who are really good, you have to allow them to play outside of the system. He said the same thing about Josh Hart when it came to, I think it was rebounding position or something like that. And he was like, when you get somebody talented like that, you just gotta let them go. So I'm not sure how much coaches are going to be reeling in their best players and saying, "I need you to run the system," when these guys can. I don't know if there's a better shot you're gonna get than what you get from Brunson. I don't know. I think that's a tough one for Mike Brown as a new coach to this team.
No, I mean, I get it, but like also, maybe I'm a little bit old school in some certain ways where I don't believe that, the Indians are supposed to, actually run the camp, that there needs to be somebody else in charge of it. And that point of direction needs to come from him being the coach. And I just think that at points in times where Mike, you know what I mean, he may talk and have the games offhand, but during that point in time where things get critical, you just need to be able to lean back on the system. And I think that that's where the separation comes at critical times, where the players are like, well, I'm still trying to run into the system. So what am I doing where Brunson is just taking over? And I think that at times, players, we can see how some of these guys, they check out because they go, well, I don't think I'm going to get the ball, or they're not aggressive now. So I don't think that, I think that the players and the mentality and the cores that we have, I think that emphasis needs to be, addressed. You can't have one guy stepping outside and saying, here, I'm going to divert us back to what Tibbs is doing, what Tibbs was doing, and the rest of you guys are doing this. And I think that's at times where Brunson gets into points of egos and he goes to town on it. And I don't think that Brown reins him in.
Do you think there's any point in which your best player, whether that's Brunson, whether that's KD, whether that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is there any time where it's acceptable for them to play outside of the system?
100%. I've seen it, but there is still a tie point back to the system. You can't have where it's 8 minutes, 7 minutes up in the fourth quarter, and then you're saying, well, it's Brunson time, and I'm going to go like this. But Jordan was one of the greatest athletes we ever saw. But until he got into the system here and started running that triangle is where he truly exceeded and became, another level up. So therefore, if he can do it and he can line into those what's names, some of the greatest what's names of all times is look at Steve Kerr, that pass that he gave to Kerr, and Kerr hit that 3-point shot. That made Kerr's career, that made that system, and then they moved on from there. But the one thing that Jordan did do was he locked into it and he stayed within that realms of that system. Even though he was, he's Jordan, he was still freelancing at a certain degree of it.
Oh, I was about to say, like, I'm having a hard. I watch Jordan.
Yes, exactly.
You can't. So, there was a system, and he worked that. He did work the triangle. I'll give him that. But plenty of times when it was Michael Jordan time, similar to Brunson. So
exactly,
yeah. I mean, so I think it's tough because a system is supposed to bring out the best in the team and the best in the player, but a system can also strangle a player as well. And so you got to find that balance for somebody like Brunson. And I think that's where, for you think Mike Brown is not reining him in. I think for Mike Brown, from his experience of working with Kobe and LeBron, I think that's his experience of sometimes you just got to let the great ones rock. I think that's what he's what he's doing. But that's a very interesting point. We can have a whole show on system versus your best player and what's the balance. Latoria, did you want to finish what you were saying before we get to Geoff?
No, we're good. I think we touched on enough of Mike Brown. I think we touched on enough of it.
Okay, Geoff.
Well, I think with Brown, I kind of have a Mikal Bridges moment, kind of like you were talking about, Queen, in that I am at odds with Mike Brown because of the way he uses Karl Anthony Towns. But just because I don't agree with that doesn't necessarily mean that like I don't think he's ever going to be a focal point of the offense the way that I hope that he would be, and the way that he was more so with under Thibodeau. So I kind of have to just take that for what it is. I just because it's not my preference doesn't mean it can't lead to winning basketball. I would like to see more of that, but it's not happening. So I just need to put that part of the equation aside. I think for me with Brown, the only major criticism I have is that when we were struggling, it seemed like he had a difficult time stopping the bleeding. Like when we were in that 2-9 stretch, it kind of felt like that should have been over in about 4 or 5 games and not extend to 11. And it just seems like there are certain times where this team has come out at flat and almost looked unprepared. And maybe that's just because we're spoiled because Thibodeau teams were always prepared. But, so from that standpoint, I've seen that a time or two, but at the same time, we're right about where we were last season as far as record is concerned, and that's with the front office really striking out on both of the major additions that they brought onto the club up until the trade deadline. And so they've had injuries to deal with, and he's navigated those pretty well. When we've struggled, it seemed like it was because the team wasn't really running the system. Now it's on him to make sure that they do. So I think that he gets some of the blame for that. If the players are ignoring what you're asking them to do, why is that? Like, that shouldn't be happening. But and then they followed that up and they answered the bell, and the players, started to play better, and we had a good stretch. Well, what I'm curious about is Tom Thibodeau teams always finished the regular season strong. So I'm curious to see if we can do that under Mike Brown and continue that under Mike Brown. But the things I like about Brown is his versatility has been great. He's given players rope to hang themselves with, and a lot of them have come up well. I thought we saw some very encouraging things out of Tyler Kolek this year. I love what we've seen from Kool Moe-Dee and the limited minutes that we've gotten him. I mean, to the point where we're clamoring for him over a veteran player. I think that speaks loudly to what a good job he's done as a player, and to like him and trust him immediately, and not have to earn your stripes the way that you had to under the old system, so to speak, with a team that's rather veteran in front of him. So and injuries had something to do with that as well. But I think that kind of collaboration and that flexibility is what he was brought in here to do. And so, I give him credit for that, but I kind of agree with Delusional. It's an incomplete until you go to the playoffs, right? This team loses in the first round, Mike Brown's season is a failure. If we lose in the second round, I think there better be some serious context. Or it's a failure. He was brought to a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, was within 2 games of the NBA Finals. It's my expectation that, barring injury, that he keep us relatively the same spot. The Eastern Conference is difficult. There's no doubt about that. But you've got Tyrese Halliburton is out. You've got Jason Tatum has been out all year. So those are favorable things for the team, and we haven't necessarily taken advantage of those things so far. Based upon where we're at in terms of seeding, and it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch. There's not a lot of distance between us and the 6th spot right now. And so, what he does over these last 27 games is going to go a long way in determining his grade, because everything ramps up now as we're gearing up for the playoffs. And this team hasn't really been a great road team. So you better get as much home court advantage as you can, because they've been outstanding at MSG, which is something that I appreciate.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like that he knows he's played different lineups. He's played different players, so he has a good sense of each player going into the playoffs, and that's kind of what he's trying to do with Sohan, as per his press conference. And I like that about him. I like the fact that players have played. I was looking at the stats today. I think OG is playing 33 minutes a game. Mikal might be at 34 minutes a game. I like that. I like that he tightens up the rotation when it needs to be tightened up. When we were 2-11, he wasn't playing 7.5 players. Like he was like 7.5. However, if it's a blowout, he expands the rotation. If it's injuries, he'll expand the rotation. So I like that about him. I do see some similarities between him and Thibodeau too. I think he's getting a lot of credit for the number of players he's playing, but I think a lot of that is due to injuries, though. I think if we weren't injured, I think this rotation would be um, a little tighter. It had basically tightened up before McBride, went down as well. Um, the offense, I mean, we're third in offense. I think we were top five, last year as well. I do see Brunson playing off ball more. I know people talk about him dominating the ball. I don't think he's. I don't think it's anything close to what it was last season. You see Mikal bringing the ball down court some. I see Brunson playing off ball more. I think it's something Brunson, struggle is a strong word, but had to get used to, because he's used to the ball being in his hands, and I think he's still trying to figure out the balance between being on and off, pass, shoot. Um, I was listening to DJ Zulu, um, Knick Film School. I love him. I love his perspective. And he was asked a question about Brunson's ball hogging, and he said, "Listen, the number one thing you want to get in crunch time is a field goal attempt. That's what coaches want." And he said it's not just Brunson. You see it all around the league. Down crunch time, it gets down to the ball being in your best player's hand a lot. Because the more passing there is, the more chance of a turnover. If you have a player who can really score, you're going to get a pretty good shot at the basket. Even if they miss it, you're going to get a good shot. And I remember the game a few games ago. We was complaining about Brunson holding the ball down the stretch. All of those shots were really good shots that he would usually make, that he misses. So I do think he needs to find a balance, but I also think we're overrating the players he have around him. Yeah, I really think we are. Um, a Brunson's shot in the key where he's shooting 985%, probably a better shot than OG in the corner, even if he is shooting 469%, So, but what I liked about DJ Zulu's answer was it just brought a perspective that we talk about a lot, is that we're we're making our takes on based on what we think it should be. And there's pieces of the equation that we're not even privy to. And when he brought up that point, I was like, wow, I never thought about that. Coaches want the ball in their best players' hands down the stretch to take to take those to take those shots. Um, but anyway, for the most part, I like what Mike Brown is doing, but I'm with the rest of you. The playoffs are going to tell the story. It's not about Mike Brown compared to Thibodeau. It's not about where this team is now compared to last year. It's about the playoffs. It's about the adjustments. It's about the game plan. It's about the schematics. It's going to be about um, the lineups, the lineup shifts. It's going to be about those adjustments from game to game, as well as in game. And that's what I'm looking for, because that's going to ultimately tell the story on Mike Brown. Like right now, this is light stuff. This is light stuff. The playoffs, everything is magnified, and the margins are slimmer, much slimmer. Yeah. Anybody else want to add to what I said, what Nick Nation said, what anybody else said on the panel?
I'm gonna jump off. I hadn't eaten dinner yet, so I'm gonna go grab a bite to eat. But I just want to come
Okay.
on and chop it up with you guys for a little bit. Salute to Delusional, my guy, Nick Nation, Latoria, great addition, better than Sohan, better than Alvarado. We're glad to have you on the crew. And Ajay, you already know, my brother. And salute to Jerrell, who left earlier. I'm sorry to do this, but I gotta get some
That's
food.
okay. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
eat
It's
though.
fine.
Chop it down, brother.
It's
Chop it
fine.
down.
Nobody wants to see you pass
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
hit your
yeah.
head.
We'll see
Eat.
y'all later. Go
Take
Knicks,
care,
beat the
brother.
Pistons.
Yeah. All right. Anything else about Mike Brown before we move on to the Pistons?
No, just get it done.
Yeah.
All right. We play the Pistons tomorrow. What do the Knicks have to do tomorrow to come away from that game feeling like, yeah, we can beat those guys? Like, what is it that they would need to do? Is it they have to win the game? Is it that they would have to blow them out? Is it that they have to play close even if they do lose? They have to match their physicality. What is it that you think the Knicks would need to do for them to come out of that game feeling like, yeah, I think we can beat those cats? East Blue
Who's
Drew
it
said
on?
win the game.
Oh.
You could go Nick Nation, then we'll go with Delusional.
For me, I'm gonna say what success that he has in freeing up Brunson, because the team definitely stifled him. What decisions as well as Brunson makes. You know, defensively, can he come up with a game plan to knock Cade off of his game? Both their bigs won't be in, so we won't get a chance to understand and see that. Does Cat have some point of success? You know what I mean? God forbid some third stringer, fourth stringer comes off the bench and stifles him. Now, we're going to be looking at that like it's crazy. So to me, he's got to win the game and win decisively, not just beat them, 10, 12. No, this should be a game that without the two of their best, the two of their best big men, that we should win. And we should win. I mean, and it shouldn't be like, it should be like a 15, 20 point game. Without that, if it's a close, what's name down again? No, that tells me that, we're not on the right path point for it. Even though the playoffs and the regular season and playoffs are totally different, which we all know. But as far as for going in with some form of confidence, yeah, I think that there needs to be more where what Bickerstaff is trying to do to us. You know what I mean? His whole game plan. I watched that game. I watched one of the last games, the last game that we were saying, not the first one that we played them, but I liked the last one. And the whole thing, his Bickerstaff's whole game plan on both ends, not just offensive end, on the defensive end, is to attack Brunson. That is his full game plan. On the defensive end, he's making Brunson what's name here, because I guess he's saying that here, if this is your best player, I'm going to take your best player on both ends and go at him. And he's putting maximum effort at those guys always having a hand on him, always touching him, always leaning on him, always bumping on him. So to me, that looked like the whole game plan and nothing else, because I couldn't really see where he did anything really on the schematics wise to stop Cat or others or other big or other bigs. It just was, hey, I'm going to stop Brunson and I'm going to go at him on both ends. So if Brown can clean that up, that I would like to see. And as a team, I want to see, if Sohan comes in, I want to see, I don't want to see players getting displaced. And now that we have OG and Sohan, those are two players, two wings that don't get displaced. Unfortunately, our other wing, he gets displaced pretty easily. He's not one of the strongest guys. He's got a great reach, but he can get displaced very easily. So with that being, with things like that being said, I want to see with these new dogs that he brought in, I want to see if he can take them off the leash and let them, really go at these people. I want to see what he can do. I want to know. prior to us going, you know what I mean? We got a bunch of games that are tough games coming up because right after them we
I
got
love it.
Houston just as the same. So I want to see it. I'm, you know, these guys have got their rest. You know, whoever's ready to play should be full energy and let's go. There shouldn't be any excuses about some, you know what I mean? We know that they're going to come in. Both teams are probably going to stink on offense, but not that. And Detroit's not the greatest on offense. They're just really great on defense. I want to see what we can do as far as that because defense still translate. Their offense may be trash, but their defense will still be there. And I want to see from a schematic point what he's done to be able to get these guys off Brunson. And as we know against Detroit, the major problem was off-ball action. There's no off-ball action. The offense gets so stifled. So I really want to see if he's practicing that. You know what I mean? Even if it's limited in certain areas. Is he targeted them in different areas? Is he pushing Cat down low? You know, things something to change up to make Bickerstaff go, all right, I just can't do this anymore. I just can't, you know, run everybody at Brunson and expect to win. So I'll wait to see that. That's what I'm looking for as far as tomorrow.
Yeah. I think in games like that, that's really where Brunson also should take advantage of the gravity. If they're going to really crowd him like that, definitely get off the ball. Um, I was gonna make another point, but I forgot. Anyway, delusional.
Yeah.
Oh, so but you were saying that you believe that because they're without their two bigs, the Knicks absolutely have to win this game.
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay, okay, okay. Delusional.
So going into this game, you know, my mindset was like, okay, we're 100% healthy now. And then of course Detroit had the suspension, so obviously they're without, you know, two of their aggressive players, and Duran and Stewart. And mind you, Stewart last year was out in the season series, and he always stated that if he was there, it was a whole different element if he played. So for this game being in the Garden, my initial mindset, you know, before listening to Nick Nation, how he so eloquently put it, and kind of brought that fire back. I was just saying, you know, get a win how you get a win, because it's the regular season. That's literally not going to dictate how we play in the playoffs. This is just gathering information, right? But you know, as a Knick fan and seeing those multiple 30-point losses and how they literally took our soul, to be honest with you, to where everybody's questioning what do we have for Detroit, because we look so, you know, discombobulated. So 100%, I need to see a dominant performance for Brunson, because that's going to showcase that he can manage anything that Detroit guards bring out, whether it's size, whether it's quickness. Let him be aggressive. But my main thing is, what do we have for Cade Cunningham? Because he dictates everything Detroit. So what do we have for Cade? I think that's more important than what Brunson could bring, because we have everybody else that can put the ball in the basket. But defensively, what can we do with Cade? And I'm hoping, you know, OG without that toenail, he's able to shift and move and lock that up. You know, with Mikal, like Nick Nation stated, he's a little slimmer, right? So that's why bringing in Sohan means so much. Another big body, someone that's also 6'8". I doubt that, you know, occasionally we could probably put Alvarado on Cade just for that pestiness, just for the foul, and just to get in his head. I want that. I want a hard foul of Cade going to the rack by Alvarado. Stir that up. Give me I want to see that in his first minute in the game. You get that hard foul to set the tone. That's what I want. And of course, we get the dub. But even if it's 3 points, 5 points, I'm fine. Like I said, when it comes to playoffs, we can fully show our hand and show the Arsenal what we did, you know, similar to what we did with Boston. I think we can still do the same thing with Detroit. But this game, particularly in the Garden, just get a win. Just get a win. But we definitely need to strong arm and at least make a presence known. Even with their two enforcers not there, that's totally fine. We'll beat on the young ones until they get back. But I think it needs to be an aggressive, needs to be a tough game. Just get the W.
Do you believe that there is a psychological part of not beating a team?
Well, the way we've lost, 100%. I can see we lost the game, 2 points here. We lost on the buzzer beater shot. We were out the game by the second quarter, Queen. We were out the game by the second quarter. You saw from the first half how they played defensively, which was totally different than what they did previously. I'm not going to lie. It was rent. Like, we couldn't get the ball up. JB was still off screen, and he's trying to get off a floppy coming off of curls. They're still bumping him to where he couldn't get off the sets correctly, to where we had to deviate and go through everyone else. Now we're working through Cat. Cat, he's going ISO, which is sometimes good, but then he's hooking, getting himself in foul trouble, couldn't post up as much. We didn't have OG, sometimes, who also get us out of stretches with his corner threes and him attacking. It wasn't there. So this is definitely, and from Detroit perspective, we're on their calendar. I don't think they're worried about any other team besides us in the East, because they're making a point. We're saying, okay, this is the team that everyone is crowning king that's going to come out the East. Say less. We're going to destroy the king, take it from the top, and everybody else is going to bow down. So that's how they played with the regular season. We didn't come with that energy. So 100%, they came with their psychology on their own, which took away from us.
Okay. All right. Ajay and then Latoria.
I want to see us win tomorrow's game because there's a psychological effect to a team beating you convincingly 3 times in a row. When you run into them in the playoffs, you're scared. I don't care how tough you are and how much a professional you are. When you're already at a disadvantage when you meet them in the playoffs, knowing that they beat you down, 3 times in the regular season. So we have to come in and match their intensity, match their physicality, and even surpass in some cases, especially they don't have their 2 big guys. So there's we really have to, to put our foot down and win that game. I think like both Knick Nation and Delusional said, convincingly. Well, especially Knick Nation. Delusional wants a 5-point win. I want at least a double-digit convincing win with some garbage time in there, even if possible. Okay, because they come in crippled because they don't have all their players, so we have to take advantage of that. I mean, I hate that they're not going to have their full team because it's still not a psychological advantage in the playoffs, because in the back of your mind, you'll know you beat them because they, people are going to say because they didn't have all their players, right? So that's still not, what I would want it to be, but we'll take what we can get. To get the dub. Let's get the dub. There's no reason, and we've seen this team struggle against quote unquote G League teams out there. Tomorrow we cannot afford to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. Latoria, what do you think?
I wholeheartedly disagree with just about everything all of them say.
Okay.
This is not psychological warfare, right? The Detroit Pistons are the #1 seed in the East, and they are looking back at us the entire season. We don't have the place. They don't have a psychological hold over this team. Last year, the Knicks came out, first game against Boston. We got blown out by 45 points. We didn't beat them at all last season. We only beat Detroit once last season. We didn't beat Cleveland. We didn't beat OKC. We didn't beat, I don't think we beat we beat Denver last year. But any team with playoff aspirations and any talk about going to the finals, we pretty much lost to. And that meant nothing once we went to the playoffs. So all these regular season games don't matter to me at all. If the Knicks lose tomorrow, I promise you I'm not going to care. These games don't mean anything to me. And at the end of the day, it's amazing how I listen to everybody talk about how their players are out tomorrow, and we should be winning these games. And they never seem to say anything about the fact that we weren't just down OG, we were down Cat, we were down Deuce, we were short on our bench because they traded Yabusele away, so we didn't have him. We didn't have Alvarado, who's now on our team. We were very, very short-handed. So yes, it was easy to beat up and bump Brunson because who was he going to pass the ball to? If you could take him and Mikal out the game, you pretty much won the game. So I don't take no stock in the fact that they beat the brakes off us, because they should have beat the brakes off us. They're the number one seed in the East. They have a really good team. They play great defense, and we were totally hampered that entire game. So the fact that they won the way that they won, they were supposed to win like that. So it don't bother me that they won like that. And then I don't even think it bothers the Knicks that they. I think this is a Knicks fan thing. The Knicks fans want them to win like that. The Knicks don't care, because I don't think they view Detroit as a threat. At the end of the day, they roster don't stack up well with on the defensive end, they do. But when it comes to offense in a 7-game series, they just don't have enough firepower to beat us. I just don't see that. I don't care how much defense you play. Defense wins basketball games. I get defense wins championships. I get that. But our defense is good enough. Their offense doesn't stack up to ours. I don't fear the Detroit Pistons. They don't scare me. I'm not worried about them. Asor just got back from the trip Jerrell sent them on last season. Like, I'm not worried about the Detroit Pistons. And I don't think none of y'all should be either. Like, everybody's putting so much stock in what they did. And they beat us when we had half our team. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. And again, I don't care. Me, that's just me, and I know that's a me thing. I don't care if we lose tomorrow, because I don't think it's going to matter once we get into the playoffs. It didn't matter last season, and I don't see it now. Playoff basketball and regular season basketball are two very, very, very different things, and we all saw it last year. Look at how we played against Boston, and they beat us convincingly, with the exception of the very last game that we played when Mitch finally came back. Every other game, they blew us up. We looked like we had no business on the court with them. Same thing with Oklahoma City. Same thing with Cleveland. Like, we were getting destroyed by these teams, and we went to the playoffs, and we were fine. It was Indiana, but I still blame Tibbs for that. But I think everybody got to calm down. Like, Detroit is not the super team everybody think they are. I really think they're going to be the first round exit again. They going to mess around and get bumped out by Charlotte or Philly. Somebody going to smack them right out the playoffs, because their whole finals and their whole championship is beating us. And they already beat us twice. I don't see them getting out the first round. That's just me. So that's how I feel about the Detroit game. I think that it doesn't matter. I still think we're going to win tomorrow, but I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things, because once we get to the playoffs, things are very different.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Agree, disagree?
I hope she's right. I hope they get bumped. I hope they run into some Miami Heat in the playoff. That's some unpredictable team. That way we don't have to worry about them the rest of the playoffs and go all the way to the finals.
And I just want to add, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you. I just want to add, I'm not scared to see Detroit if they get into the second round. My problem with playing with Detroit is that I know that we're probably going to be up in that series, and we're probably going to be beating them, and one of them players is going to try to hurt somebody because they dirty as hell. That's my issue with playing them. I know that they're going to try to hurt somebody, because we're going to be up 2 games to nothing or 3 games to nothing, and they're going to come down and try to hurt Mitch or hurt Cat or hurt Jalen, because that's the type of team they are. They dirty.
Paris Duggar agrees with you. We need wins, but this game don't mean that much. Best 4 out of 7 is just different. It definitely is different. That's why I love the playoffs, man. It's just different. It's just different. And listen, we've seen this, right? We've seen throughout NBA history that team that went to the finals the last year or 2 years in a row, and that up and coming team with so much energy, and they 60 wins, the number 1 team in the East, and then they get into the playoffs, and it's a different story. Listen, if the Knicks play Detroit, I think it's going 7. I think it's going 7. But I this is where I agree with you, Latoria. They're number 10 in defense. Excuse me, number 10 in offense. Offensive rating, they're number 10. But I don't think they're a true top 10 defense in the league, in my opinion. I just think that lack of a secondary scorer and that lack of consistent shooting around Cade could be an issue in the playoffs. But that physicality and that defense is going to be on point in the playoffs. And if the Knicks, you could talk about how the Knicks are good offensively, and the Knicks have process issues at times. And when you're coming against a really good defense that's really physical, one, you got to match that physicality. And two, you got to be present enough to take advantage of the advantages you do have. And there's been times throughout the season where I felt like once a team took away their first or second option, the Knicks was like, well, I don't really know where to go from here. Even though there's, with this offense, with the players on this team, there's so many things you could do if they take away. They can't take away everything, but the Knicks helped them out. The Knicks helped them out by like not processing and not taking full advantage of their offense. And we talked about this a little earlier, Nick Nation. You said, and you're not the only one, Freezy has told me this too, that the Knicks offense is kind of bland. I think he might have said, one person said bland, one person said vanilla, pretty much the same thing. But I wonder how much of that is Mike Brown and how much of that is just, after a while, you just got to simplify things because the players are just not getting it, right? This is the second year in a row, Tibbs' offense is bland, and I've heard Mike Brown's offense is bland. At what point is it the players and their difficulty picking up the nuances of a system? And that's where you can get beat by Detroit. Because we could talk about the Knicks offense at its best, but when you're playing a really good defensive team, will the Knicks offense be at their best? I don't know. I think the Knicks have process issues. I've seen on the offensive end. I've seen it.
That's 100.
I
That's
agree,
100% where I'm coming
right?
from.
I agree.
Mhm.
But then I go back to that cup game. I just feel like when the chips are stacked against them, they perform at a higher level because we've seen it. So
We
My
beat
only
them.
okay.
I wonder though, in that cup game, if this was a best of 7 series. Like I've seen them do it. That was a game.
it was
I
a
do
one-off against
wonder
right.
if it was a best of 7, and then San Antonio would have came back and made adjustments to what the Knicks did. You know what I mean?
Right, but then
Um,
you make adjustments. They make
and then
adjustments. You make adjustments, and I'm just
yeah.
I only that's why I brought my cup hat out today, right? Because I feel like when it's go time, they rise to the occasion, and they've shown you that because that cup run was amazing. And I know everybody's going to say that's not a championship, not a real championship, but they were playing playoff intensity basketball against teams that they could not beat all season. Miami, Orlando. Then we had to go up against that damn alien in San Antonio, and they stepped up and they rose to the occasion. So when it's time. So when it's time for you to make adjustments, then you get to you get to see the real Nick about the team, and that's what I'm looking forward to in the playoffs.
Okay.
I think my only issue is with any of that is this team is not last year's team. This coach that we have is not last year's coach. That was a team that was in that system for what, 5 years? So, you know what I mean? They knew certain things to how to lean on and go back to. This team, I don't see that yet. They don't know, like we just discussing, the nuances of the offense. Is it IQ? Can these plays absorb, what is being taught to them? Can they do it under stressful situations? This year is not last year. This is a new year. This is a new team. This team has to evolve into what that team was of last year, and hopefully, have certain other things to get past it. But to figure out and to believe just that we will take off from like last year, no, switches don't work like that. We've all been, we've seen this for years. And what's names? If you're playing good going into some point of that playoffs at times, yeah, that motion carries over. But What this team is right now, it's been a roller coaster. It's been extremely up, extremely down. And for the coach, which you listen, if any of us listen to it today, the coach was worried about them. So if Brown is worried about them, I believe we all should, because he said we got handedly whooped by them 70 something odd points between 2 games. That is, that's something to have concerns about. Period.
But you don't
going
think
forward,
context
period.
matters though in terms of us being down players? I agree. Even down players, you shouldn't have got whipped like that. But things can unravel fast, though. Things can unravel fast when you don't have your better players in the game against a team like that.
I get it, but it's this. But what it is what I'm looking at is sometimes not exactly what players are doing and who we have. I'm looking at how he attacked our system and how he broke our system down, and to where we're at with it right now, we're nowhere near where we need to be. So that's my issue with it. It's not that because we had a bunch of players out. We all know that. What's name? We didn't have him out the first game. They whooped our ass. We had what's name
And
in the
also in
second.
that first game, we
is
were
on
just starting to get
Right.
into Mike Brown's system. So I mean, there's nuance to it. I'm not trying to make like excuses.
Exactly,
They
but
lost. It is what it is. But we can't act like we don't realize that those things happen. That there were outside influences. Like there were other things in play. It wasn't just like the same team from last year came in with the same system and the same coach and got whooped. No, we were still figuring things out. So yeah, they beat us the first game. We got smoked the second game. Like they got a vendetta against us, right? And they're coming to play hard every game. And we came with a half a team, and yeah, he attacked our system because there was nobody to run it. Like I really feel like y'all put way more emphasis on this game than y'all need to, knowing that half your team is out. Like at a point, you got to realize sometimes you came to the gunfight with a knife. You're just gonna lose. They're not the number 1 team in the East for no reason. Like you didn't go to play the Clippers, not the Clippers, who's the worst team? Washington. You was in Detroit, a team that hates your guts, and they want to stomp you out at every turn. And they're good. They're really good. Did you really think we was gonna win that game? I didn't. As soon as I put my little ticket in for FanDuel and so all them players was out, I said, "Uh-oh, it's over. We lost."
But do you think there's a difference between losing
No.
and how you lost?
I do think
Because
there's a different. I do think that we shouldn't have lost by 40. But how are you going to stop it when they came to stomp you out and you didn't have
that's
no
the
way to
point.
shut the water off? How
But
was you
what I'm
going to do it?
saying
How
is,
was you going to plug it up?
but they came to stomp you out. But why didn't the Knicks come that way? Like, so was
Because
the Knicks'
again,
attitude was? I'm just saying, was the Knicks' attitude? Well, listen, we missing some players. So, because think about it,
you didn't feel
their
like those
bench.
stuff that. No, I don't mean to cut you, but you didn't feel like it was a scheduled loss for them when you saw who they sat out.
Mm,
You
I
went
would have
into
liked to have
Detroit, right?
seen. Mhm.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I would have liked to have seen players step up. Because think about it, Cade didn't have a great game. And I think a lot of that had to do with the Knicks. I think the Knicks did a good job of kind of taking him out the game. But everybody else on that team stepped up. Players from, like, who are these guys? It wasn't even their main players that stepped up. And I just felt like for the Knicks, who was stepping up for us with players out? Like Doran was
Nobody.
out.
I
That's what
I felt like
I
no
guess.
one.
I guess that's what I would have liked to have seen. You're gonna lose
Right,
the
but
game, lose the game.
see
I would have
me,
liked to
I
have seen a
feel
little
like
more fight and players step
right.
up.
I feel you, but I feel like the Knicks don't, and it may be to their detriment, right? I don't feel like they respect them, and I don't. I really feel like they came into that game, they sat their players and was like, "We're just gonna go through the motions," because that's what it looked like they was doing. They went out there, they played 48 minutes of basketball, and they went home. That's the way I looked
The
at that
Knicks
game.
ain't
I
that
said, "All
good
right, they
though.
made it the schedule." No, 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 I'm not saying that. What I'm
But
saying
I
is
mean,
that they
they're
don't
not that
respect
good to
them.
be like we could just turn it on and turn it off. Like, oh
That's not
well,
what I mean. I don't think that they went in there to turn it on at all. I think they had injuries. They sat their players. They played 48 minutes of basketball and they went home. I don't think they went in there with if they could have got the win, yeah, I think they tried in the first quarter. And once they realized that game got out of hand, it's like, that's it. We out of here. They played 48 minutes of basketball and they went home. At no time did it look like they were playing hard.
Okay, I agree. I think it's
I
unacceptable,
didn't
though.
see that.
You didn't think you thought they were playing hard?
Yeah,
When
because
did
I
you think they
thought
were playing hard?
when Brunson was sitting there with getting fouled, beat up, and what's name, and other players, and Mikal, you could see the frustrations on his face.
I,
So I saw all of that. I
I
saw
didn't
what's
see. I
name,
didn't.
and let's not forget Detroit was coming off of a back-to-back. We were not.
Okay.
Facts. Facts.
I still just don't think. I think they scratched that up as a loss when they walked in the door.
But part of being a championship team, in my opinion, is your approach.
Bingo.
Your approach is important, you know? And that's what I mean by you're not that good yet to just come in and be like, all right, we ain't going to play this game. We're going to give it a little shot. And if there's some resistance, we're just going to let it ride because we missing some players. I don't know. I just think approach matters. But I agree with you. I do think I like the Knicks in a 7-game series. I do think there's some offensive challenges on Detroit's end, but the Knicks are going to have to be able to handle that defense, and Brunson's decision making is going to have to be on point because they coming for him all game long. And to Nick Nation's point, on both sides of the ball, they coming after him. So his decision making is going to have to be on point.
Got my cup hat out. We winning.
Okay. Yeah, X Productions. Let's see how they play. How they play at home.
All right. Let's see. I'm excited to see how they stack up, how they play against them tomorrow. I'm not saying I don't want them to win. I'm not as invested, I don't think, as most people. I don't feel like it's gonna break the team if we lose the game. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Me either. Let's switch and just spend like the last 10 minutes just talking about our expectations for somebody's TV is on or something in the background. If you could just mute your mic. Just spend a little time talking about what we want to see from the Knicks over the last 27 27 games. Like, is there anything the Knicks need to clean up? Is there anything the Knicks need to solidify? Is there a particular player or lineup that you want to see more of? Anything schematically you want to see offensively or defensively over the next 27 games? What are you looking for? Is it just chemistry and gelling, or is it something else? Ajay?
Well, first and foremost, I want to see them pick it up defensively, right? That every team coming in here and everybody's shooting lights out from the 3-point line. That thing's got to stop. All right. And we made moves, towards that, right? By Jerermy Sochan, is a good perimeter defender, and Jose Alvarado, he's a good, pesky point of attack defender. Hopefully they get enough minutes to impact the game, right? Every game they play. But we definitely got to clean up on defense. That's first and foremost. On offense, though, we have to figure out a way to get Cat back to where he was last season. Because, and I think somebody mentioned when we were grading the coach, we said we're almost where we were last season. I think we're off by a game. But that's with Cat playing like Cat's offensive output much significantly worse than it was last season. But with that, we still managed to be pretty much where we were last season. All right. So think about what we do now. We clean up on defense and get Cat a little more involved, get him, get his offense going a little bit. I think that's going to make a huge difference. That's going to, propel us from being, second or third to literally fighting. I don't know what's going to happen with Detroit if they're going to lose some games, but we're definitely going to be one of the top contenders in the league if we can clean those things up. And one more quick thing with offense, and I think we talked about that the last time. They got to look for Mitch, man. Like, he's usually by him. He's usually there for that lob, and they don't look for him. That lob is there all the time. He's got good hands.
Alvarado gave it to him a couple of times last game, right?
Yeah. But I'm saying not just Alvarado, but everybody. It's literally it's just him. Like go watch the game. Watch Mitch. You'd be like, oh shit, he's down there all by himself. They don't look for him. They rather go for the floater instead of going for the sure thing. So those are the quick few things I think if we tweak those things, it's going to make a huge difference in what we see coming out of this team.
Yeah. Shout out to Paris Duggar. Appreciate the super chat. Always rocking with us. Always supporting the channel. Exactly. Who was on the court in Detroit? That's a championship player that game. No Cat, no OG, and JB was missing open threes first quarter and left for Boston. Was that our next game?
The next game, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Delusional. What do you want to see over the next 27 games?
Just to continue to defeat on the energy we had before the break, to where we were second in defense. We was ranked top in offense. Just continue off that play. We were putting defense first, and we were moving the rock. Brunson was passing the ball a lot more. A lot of those games he took, like 20 attempts. There was a glaring stat to where Brunson score more. I mean, when he has more than 20 plus attempts, I believe the Knicks are like 14 and 13. But when he takes less, but still have his average, we're pretty much way above the the 500 mark. And that's a tough stat to see, but it shows that, when he's more out there, being a deterrent and not, I can't say he forced the shots because, like you said, this is the Cat. We look forward to those possessions, but when we have Cat as the focal point early in the offense, get him going, and then Brunson can kind of gradually build up where he has 7 this quarter, he have 3 this quarter, 4, and then 10 to close it out. That's a solid stretch more than when he comes out in the first quarter to put up 14, 15 points. He's going, but then everyone else is just kind of trying to get into that rhythm. When we start with Mikal or Cat scoring the ball quicker or early in the offense, we're usually ahead because everyone's focal point is kind of on Brunson being that main scorer in the beginning. So when Mikal gets it going and he have 10 to 8 quick points, or Cat has 11 in that first quarter, we tend to win that game, and that's due to the facilitating and the defensive pressure. But mainly thing is just defense, man. If we continue playing the solid defense that we did before the All-Star break, I think that's going to catapult us to another 51 season, number 2 seeding or 3. Don't really matter to me, but as long as we get home court and that first round and just kind of build from there, I think we're good.
All right. Nick Nation.
I think some of the nuances, a lot of the execution. I also want to know before we get into the point of the playoffs, is Cat actually our, is he our 1A, 1B? If not, then is it OG? And if whoever it is, get behind him and, drive and keep pushing forward. But the indecisiveness of where we're at with Cat right now, I think is a little bit of a detriment to a team. Either Mike Brown's got to figure something out to cut a roll for him more on offense, to figure it out, to move him around a bit. I really don't like just seeing him sitting at the top of the key all the time. I think it makes it way too easy to defend him. I think for the most part what his tendencies are and where he's coming from. He's going to, lean to that right hand and lean to that right side of the basket. So I want to see, a little bit of a change in that point. I also want to see that our second unit is solidified, that they figured it out. The hit or miss kind of, maybe I'll bring this guy in for these amount of minutes or this, what's names. I think we just need to establish a much more stronger second unit and see that them, score on a consistent basis. I also like that, I'm hoping that by the end of this season that we are somewhere in the top 6 as far as defense. That would be a huge goal for us. Yeah, I know it sounds pretty high and, for us to get there, But I just think that if we could lean more and focus a lot more and give some of our energy on defense to stifle some of these bums that come in here and cast that sidestepping us, and all of a sudden they hit in 30 points. But I think if you come out early, and punch a team in the face on defense, you establish a point of a tone. I also like that with Alvarado here, and hopefully if Deuce comes back, we guard the ball from 90 feet. Us allowing teams to come up the court and get comfortable in their offense has to stop. And it definitely has to stop in the playoffs. It's not a thing that you should allow teams to just be so comfortable. And through the year, we have allowed teams to just come up, and once they, come up and do what they want. Just as Alvarado got here for these last 3 games, you can see him pick his spots where all of a sudden he comes in and he's guarding a guy. And everybody knows statistically, if you take less seconds off, once you get past that half court and you start getting into the motion of your offense, all of a sudden it's 14-13. You tend to score less. That's just a statistical fact. It's not my opinion. Those are statistical facts on that point. And if we could do things like that, there's little nuances like that we can, if we can pick up. And these are not world-beating things to do. These are small things. But that little small thing, if you can take off 3-4 points off of an average of a team, we know that that's huge. That's something that could get us to a place of 6 on defense. So it's things like that I'm hoping that, Mike Brown can clean up in the second half. They've had enough time to sit down, run back through a lot of this game film, and moving forward, even though we have new players, to see, hey, can we put these soldiers in the right place to be successful? So that's what I'm looking forward to see some of that in the second half of this.
Latoria?
I'm looking forward to the versatility that we just added to our roster with that pickup of Sohan and Alvarado. I have one small fear, and that is called Anthony Towns, and not him, the person, the player, them incorporating him properly into the system. And we talked about this a lot on the last show. And like you said, we only got 27 games left to the season, so you don't really see it changing. And that's a fear of mine, because I don't see us making that deep playoff run without him being the player that he was last season. So I had my cap on today. Mike Brown still scares me a lot, because I think that's the key to the championship. And if he doesn't see
Mike Brown is the key?
No. Cat's off, playing like he did last season is the key to our championship run. But everybody always talks about how Karl Anthony Towns has to adapt to the system. I still feel like Jalen Brunson has way more adapting to do than Karl Anthony Towns. So those are my little tiny fears, because I feel like they're gonna be for nothing. I think they're gonna be just fine. Those are just little things that creep around in the back of my head when I'm watching the ticker tape parade. Because I watch that every day it goes by. And then I put my cap on and I put it back in the closet, and I put it on, I put it back in the closet. But I'm excited for what's to come. I really think that we're gonna have a really good, these 27 games. I don't see us losing more than like maybe 7 or 8, 10 on the high side. But I think we're gonna do really well going into the playoffs. I think we picked up things that we needed, and we're going to continue to work through the things we need to work through. I mean, think about it. We had to work through a brand new system, and we're still between second and third in the East. So we're doing pretty good. I have more confidence in us winning than I do in us not. So I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah. I'm definitely excited for what's possible. I wish we could skip over these next 27 games and just get right to the playoffs. But
I swear. I think I want to do 10 of them just to get Sohan and them together and then go right to the playoffs.
For sure. Just want to give a shot. Anything else before I turn to the chat, just to give them a brief shout out before we get off? Ajay, did you spoke?
Yeah.
You did. Okay. All right. Shout out to Pressure. I hope I got that right. Nick Yak in the house. Appreciate you. The X Productions 90. Appreciate you. Parish Duggar, Sherman was in the house. East Blue Drew, Jam Rock always. Appreciate you. Wonder Woman was in the house. Appreciate you as well. User over. Yeah, this is a Nick chat, so I don't know what's going on with Caitlin Clark. That's why I didn't answer the question. What else? Rebuild NYK. I appreciate you as well. Old head for the win. I appreciate you. I'm not gonna get to everybody. J Tap was in the house. J Tap, ENY Mob. I appreciate you. Greg was in the house. Break Forever. Appreciate you as well. Docosaurus _ Rex. I appreciate you as well. Keith Turner. Appreciate you. Welcome back. I asked about you a number of times, so it's just good to see you here, Jim Brony. Z268. That gotta be YouTube. But Jay Brony, I appreciate you. Ribby RM, everybody in the chat, man. The replay gang, you already know. The silent listeners, you already know. Delusional, I appreciate you. Nick Nation, Latoria, Ajay, Jerrell was here. Geoff, of course. It's 4:00 in the morning here, but you guys are. I don't know. I just like rocking with y'all. I like chilling with y'all. Y'all rejuvenate. I don't know when I'm gonna get to bed. I'm all hyped up now over the Knicks and this game tonight. Any last words?
No, let's bring it on home.
Just that Ajay was late.
Yeah, Hollywood.
2.5
That was only 2 minutes.
I'm a straight snitch. Ooh.
We love when you can make it here to X Productions. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What is it? 27 games to go, man. Let's go.
I think it's 27.
Let's not lose more than 7 or 8 out of those.
I mean, we're working in Alvarado. We're working in, Sohan. Hopefully, no one else gets injured. OG should be back tomorrow, right?
Yep.
He fixed the toe
today.
Oh, I didn't even know that he was coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he practiced in full. They took the toenail off, so he good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we shall see. Anyway, family, I'm going to bed.
All right. Time to get up.
I know. All right, it is. Geoff and I will be on Friday, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
When you coming back?
I think it'll be 5:30 here.
Are you coming back soon?
The 28th.
Oh, okay. Oh, you
of which month?
I know, right?
28th of February.
28th of what?
28th of February. I will be back. But we got to keep the show. We got to keep it rolling on. If I didn't say anything, y'all wouldn't even know.
True. Now, Ron told us on Saturday.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was a great show, by the way. A great show.
It really was.
Yeah. Anyway, family, Latoria, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming in and the takes that you have. You remind me of staff. Oh, we got one more super chat. Somebody said, okay. Must have missed it. Oh,
I think
okay.
Paris Duggar.
Paris Duggar, appreciate you. Gotta push back. Brunson shoots a lot, many times, because when we are missing shots, is that okay? They run from the smoke. Also, JB has to always feel he's more responsible. Okay. I do see sometimes he'll pass it to them, they'll pass it back. That doesn't happen, often. That does happen sometimes. Down the stretch, I actually want the ball in Brunson's hands. If they double team you really tight, okay, fine. You got to pass it. Fine. You got to pass it. I get it. I get it. Yeah. We'll have 27 more games to talk about Brunson and his floor game, right?
Facts.
Yeah. But Latori, I appreciate you. Until next time, Phil.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Always.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't so.
What?
Don't so.